the aesthetic. All right. All right, guys. There you go. Episode 1. We don't have a name, or we do have a name. My name is Navarro.
My name is Jason.
And so we're starting a podcast amongst the many that get started. But we hope to bring something different to the table, first and foremost. We have years of experience in different fields. And we think we could put the younger generation and just people in general up on some game, right, Jason?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I feel like I've been trying to do this for a while, and it's like, what can we give back? And it's just like, it's everything we've been through.
Yeah, for sure. I think the biggest impact we have is what we leave behind.
Yeah.
That's been my mission the last couple of years personally. The impact that we leave, the imprint that we leave in this world, how we affect the younger generation. And I think this is a way for us to give back. I think that a lot of the experiences that we've gone through, myself as an artist and now as a business owner and entrepreneur, I think it's important for us to give the shorties the shortcuts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They don't have to go through the same struggles we went through. They don't have to go through the same pains we went through. And a lot of times there's a lot of information out there online. There's a lot of information to be searched, but there's nothing like actual human being experience. You know what I mean? There's nothing like trial and error. There's nothing like learning from another person. So I think I'm hoping that they could walk away from something every time they check us out.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's really what I would want this to be. If you could walk away from every episode with something, with some kind of a gem, something that you could walk away with and either take into your daily life, that to me is what things like this should be about, right? I don't want you just to consume the content or consume the audio and be like, all right, cool, go about my day. Like, how are you going to use this in your day-to-day life? If we're giving you advice as an artist, how are you going to, use that to better your career? If we're just giving, some input on just life experiences that we face, we hope that you're able to take that with you and impose that on your day-to-day interactions with other human beings. So I hope that they take something from this every time. And that's why we're going to call it Game, right?
Yeah, Game.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So I guess to start it off with, we've both been in the Chicago scene for some time, in the music scene in various capacities. So I want us to kind of just do a little intro just for the people that aren't aware of our background or anything like that. Jason, if you could just give us a little bit of who you are. And then I think a good way of doing this, we're not doing it the generic way, was like, what were your goals 5 to 10 years ago, right? And then what are your goals in the next 5 to 10 years, right? Because sometimes what we thought we were chasing when we were younger is a lot different than what we're chasing at this point of our lives, right? So yeah, maybe that could give them a good general idea of who you are.
Yeah, no, that's super real. I mean, this is actually the 10th year for Private Stock.
Okay.
So I own Private Stock, and initially I had started as like a project management company.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to find a way to like help an artist roll out their project from A to Z. But I also felt like I needed to have all the tools in place too. So like I wanted the recording studio to be there. I wanted the project management team to be in place so they could do the marketing and the rollouts. Mm-hmm. And I wanted some really, I wanted those engineers and those photographers and videographers involved. Like I really wanted to have like this full place. So I think like a 10 years ago, I wanted that. I wanted to find out a way to like, how can I be this creative agency and provide everything to that artist? I think what's changed is I think initially it started out as just hip hop for me, but I've always listened to everything.
Yes.
At home, my dad was super eclectic. He played everything from salsa to jazz to rock.
For sure.
So I always had everything in front of me. And I think what's evolved more is like, hey, I don't want to just put out hip hop records. I want to put out any type of record.
Yeah.
So like, I want to be able to help any kind of artist.
For sure. That's dope, man. So the biggest change you would say from before back then, it was just more focused on hip hop. Now it's just you're exploring different worlds.
Oh,
different
yeah.
Music.
Yeah. And then it went from just like having that singular studio or that studio at home to like, now we have this room, we have 3 or 4 recording studios in here and we're able to activate the space and try to do things for the artists here. So yeah, I mean, things like that.
And I guess within that time, so we're giving that 5 to 10 kind of year span, because I think it's a good general idea for people to kind of know what we've been doing. What was the biggest lesson within you making that transition? Again, focusing on one area and then kind of expanding and just in general, your business and then the music that you focus on.
I think one of the biggest lessons is like, bet on yourself.
Okay.
But also like there is no instant gratification.
For sure.
It's going to take some work, but it's really about believing in your vision and pushing through it.
Staying committed.
Yeah.
For sure. Cool. And then now fast forward, what's the next 5 to 10 years looking like?
You know, when I talk to artists now, like in Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
they're always like, you know, I'm trying to be the biggest here or be. I always sounds like, yo, I'm competing with people on the billboard.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm trying to make music for the world.
Yeah, for the world.
So exactly. and I want them. I want that opportunity for them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the vision in Mara is like, you know, how can we put out a more well-rounded product?
For sure.
You know, I don't want to. I want to do it for here too, but I want to do it for the globe,
for the world.
Yeah.
For sure. Awesome, man. Cool. All right. Well, then we'll do something similar for myself, so we could kind of get some background on me. I'll do the same kind of breakdown of what we did with you. So as far as who I am, Jason, you've known me for many years. When we met, I was an artist. I went by Scheme. Did music for a lot of years. I at some point transitioned, and I went under Navarro when I started doing stuff in Spanish. I paid my dues as an artist. I would like to think.
Yes.
I also, as I continued growing, I was working at Little Village Lawndale High School, right? And at that time, I have a degree in psychology. I do behavioral science, behavioral therapy. So I was there working with kids for a different reason. At this point, I had kind of decided that I was going to walk away from music a little bit. I had just had my daughter, right? And so, but that opened a whole new avenue for me. So I started an after-school program called Beats and Bars, and that just triggered the light in me where I was like, I have more of an impact on this side than I did as an artist. As an artist, you're very narcissistic in a way. It's your goals that you're trying to attain. It's very, just focus driven on yourself and what you're trying to achieve. Yes, the outcome is that the trickle effect will hopefully be good for the people around you. You do it with hopes. It's not that narcissistic. You do it for the people around you. But
the hyper focus.
Yeah, just hyper focus.
Yeah.
So then when I did the program and I realized that I got 15, 20 soldiers under me, I'm like, I could impact the scene, the culture much more on this side. So then a couple of years later, I decided to start Loop Theory and Loop Theory Internacional. So same thing, something similar as you, focusing on management, partnered with photographers, studios, and things of that nature. And we've had a successful, 4-year run, I would like to say, because it was something that didn't exist 4 years ago. And now at least, some people are aware of it. And I like to think that the track record we have with the artists we've worked with, just proves the quality that we bring every time we do something. Yeah. So, so that's a little bit about myself as far as, what my background is.
Yeah.
And then what else? So the biggest lesson in those 5 to 10 years, I would say, just again, I have to agree with you, believing in yourself and like sticking to your guns and knowing that, also understanding like not to block your blessings. A lot of times God is telling you like this skill set you have or this thing that you're doing is transitioning to something else. And you're so stuck on it being this original idea of what you thought it was that you're not letting these other blessings come because you're so stuck on it being this way. And so that was the biggest lesson for me. Once I realized like, hey, now I'm teaching other people this. But if I hadn't gone through the artist phase, if I hadn't gotten my respect on that end, the persons or the younger people that I'm talking with and I'm engaging with wouldn't have that respect for me, or they wouldn't, consider my opinions or things if I hadn't gone through that. So I needed to go through that in order for me to be in the position I'm at today. So I think that's been the biggest lesson. Like, don't block the blessings. Be open-minded of evolution and understanding that things, life transitions. You got to move with it because if not, you get left behind. You know what I mean? So I just knew very early on, I told myself I never want to be the dude who's still trying to figure it out rapping when I was super old. Like, I need to understand that at some point we got to move forward. It's something else. And so I made that decision just earlier on. I was still in my early 30s when I was like, you know what? What's the next thing? And then once I actually had it and I was doing it with the shorties, I was like, yo, this is it right here. So man, that's been the biggest lesson for me. Just let life happen.
What I heard there too is like the tunnel vision. Like the tunnel vision didn't allow me to like collaborate.
Oh, okay, word.
And because it was almost like a narcissistic thing. Like, yo, I'm trying to drive and win this right here, like my way. Like, I wanted to write that plan. I was like, I want to do it this way. But I think, one of the biggest lessons is like, yo, like let's put the tunnel vision down and let's see who we can collaborate with, work with, and
for sure. And that's brought us together.
Yeah,
because like I said, we've known each other for many years. You were always a big supporter of me as an artist.
Yes.
And I always respected and knew that what you were building over here.
By supporting him, I was a huge fan.
Yeah.
No, I consumed Scheme's music.
Yeah.
I went to his concerts.
Jason came to my shows.
I bought his merchandise. Like, it was a real thing.
It was, he was a very, very big supporter. So those things mean a lot because sometimes the closest people to you, or might talk the talk, but they don't. A complete stranger, in a way, could just show you love and support that other people don't. So that goes without being unnoticed, and it's always appreciated. And artists appreciate those people. Like, don't ever take it for granted when someone takes the time to purchase something, to stop by your show. Like, don't be too cool to appreciate those people, because you might have, some people showing up one day and sometimes they're not. So appreciate the people you have. And again, those blessings keep being showered if you approach it that way. I mean, don't shut out, the good stuff. So yeah, man, I agree with you. Then lastly, I'll just say for what I'm looking for the next 10 years is this, man. Again, it's what these type of partnerships and collaborations are the opportunities that are going to come, to our city. And I think that's been our biggest thing in getting it together, is bringing resources and opportunities to our communities, to not just artists, but just our communities in general. And then obviously we're music driven, so the artists in the city, right? Yeah. So I think that's what I'm looking forward to the most. Something that probably should have been done for some years now. I'm glad it's happening.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people talk about like, oh, Chicago's missing, we had that talk, and I was just like, man, we're not missing it. We're just not doing it.
Yeah. I think everyone's just so focused. And I think a lot of times, I'll speak for myself when it came to loop theory stuff. It was never like, I don't want to work with other people, but it's like, I respect what you're building. I respect what everyone's doing on their own, that I don't want to step on anyone's toes. I don't want to infiltrate anyone's system. Like, let me just build this on my own. And I'm not here to destroy other people. I'm just here to build what I'm building. Yeah. Right? And I just feel like you could do that. You could coincide, build side by side without having to tear the next person down.
Everyone's doing what they're doing so different. It never has to be a competition. Like, there can always be some way to work that together.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Everyone brings something different to the table. Yeah. I think we just have to be confident in what it is that we do. And I think that's so normally the issue, because a lot of just people, we can't stand behind what we speak on, but I'm glad that we can. So, all right, I guess we'll move on to the general topic for today's podcast, right? So one of the things that comes with our positions, right, is being a leader. Yeah. Right. And so one of the things we said we were going to talk about, what is it being a leader? What are examples of leading? Right. And what are some of the responsibilities that come with being a leader? So we're not necessarily ever born into that position. Right. We either place ourselves in it, or it just so happens to show up, and we have to someone has to step up. Right. So I guess for yourself, what has been, some of the responsibilities that come with being a leader in your position, but maybe even before music, when you realize like, I got this in me, I could, or was music the first time that you realized it?
No, actually, leadership for me is always I don't want to say it's like accidental, but it's almost like I had these sales jobs, right? And I would kill them. I'd have crazy numbers, but I'd always have a vision. I was like, oh, how can I uplift like the other 3 salesmen around me so that we can meet these numbers, these team goals. And so like I've always been driven in that way. It's like I have that motor in me. It's just like, how do I bring everyone else up? Yep. So it's just not me killing it. It's all of us doing it. And so in retail, I noticed that. And then with music, I kind of accidentally fell into it. Right. So like I didn't have like music ambitions as far as like a professional. I just loved consuming music. But my close friend Alberto wanted to be a rapper. And he was just like, can you help me with that? And I was like, no. I don't know how to do that. But he believed in me, and I built a recording studio. And I think my first ambition was just being an engineer. I was like, let me learn how to become an engineer. But when I built that thing at the house, motherfuckers wouldn't stop coming to the house. Just pull up. But it was just creatives. It was like other artists. It was people that shot video, which at the time wasn't like super accessible. Photographers. My friends were going to school for marketing at Columbia. I was like, I took a step back, and I was like, I can't just be that engineer, because that's not going to take us anywhere. I was like, I need to find a way to like make this move together. And so
I think that's one of the biggest skills that, again, if this is one of the things that people step away with from this episode, is that learning how to step back, learning how to see the full picture, learning how to understand your role in that full picture, and understanding that sometimes it's okay to play that role. You might end up being just engineering that, but if you see no one else stepping up and seeing that vision, then we're responsible, because again, it goes back to the same thing. I feel that's the world, the universe, got whatever else, letting you know, like, hey, here it is. I'm letting you take this, and then we're too reserved to step up to the plate.
Like, you're the artist, right? so for an engineer, I felt like I wanted to be the Michael Jordan of engineering. Like I
Word,
wanted that.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I was like, I want that for me.
For sure.
And then I was like, oh, you can't have that for you.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, I feel you, but you understood the responsibility was greater.
There's a bigger thing. There's a bigger goal. I just saw more sight with that. I was just like, man, I can make this shit go way harder.
For sure. And I guess for myself, same thing. Responsibilities with being a leader. Just realizing that you have to listen. You have to listen to the people you have around you. You have to take them into consideration. You also have to be very confident in the decisions that you make and knowing why you're making them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we have to understand that sometimes the people around us don't have that clear distinction in their character, and that nothing wrong with them. But we have to hone in on it if we do have it, because that could make a world of a difference in someone's again in their ecosystem in their world. So I've could say same thing. I've stepped up to the plate as I've grown up, as I matured, as I think just came into myself a little bit more, and I lived in different worlds. Like I said, I didn't just do music. I worked at Chicago Public Schools. I've worked with kids. I've done therapy with kids on the spectrum. I've worked in different ways where I had to. I got tested with different things in life, and that just made me a stronger person. And excuse me, quite honestly, I mean, I'll speak. Just as a minority and a Mexican American, a lot of times I made it a point to speak up. I made it a point to voice myself, because sometimes you're not either expected to do that, or it's not necessarily praised. You know what I mean? Or it could be looked down upon. And I just always wanted to make sure that I had a platform to say those things before when I was an artist. So I just I've learned how to do that in different, facets of my life. And now as a leader and, within my company and in different ways, and, doing youth mentoring and working with youth too, you have to, that's when I realized there is no uncertainty with younger people. If you're not confident in what you're speaking to them, if you're not confident in what you're trying to channel to them, they're going to receive it with that uncertainty. And at that age, they need nothing more but someone that's going to lead them in the right direction, that's confident in what they're saying. So that's been one of my biggest tools in learning, was working with youth, because I realized I can't be half, I just had to fully commit to what it is that I was speaking to them. This was real life situations that they were going through. It was no room for uncertainty. It was you had to just lead them in the right path. So I think that has definitely helped me personally. So let's see.
Actually, I think it was interesting watching you transition from an artist to the owner and the person running Loop Theory. That was hard for me to digest. I was like, damn, because and I can tell, I meet shitty artists all the time. I was like, the scheme was really fucking good, because I was an actual fan. So I was just like, damn, does that mean he's not going to do music anymore? Like, he's just going to, that was like, damn, how did he make that switch?
Yeah. Like I said, for me, more than anything, it was the birth of my daughter. And then I did music full time. I was a full-time artist at some point where I did nothing else but do shows and, just be an artist, make music. So when I understood how hard I had to work for that, I just felt I was going to half-ass it at that time when I had my daughter. And it was just too much for me. And I wasn't going to half-ass being a pops personally. So I was just kind of like, this was my time to choose. Like, what am I going to do? And I was like, you know what? I got to step back. I was also 30 years old. Maybe if that happened to me when I was younger, my decision would have been different, or I would have thought of things differently.
I don't know.
If the person I was with
something I struggle with.
Everything, you don't know, right? But to me, I was 30 already. So I was already like, okay, what am I doing? What direction am I going in? And it was just more of a conscious decision. But I will tell you this, within the time period that I stopped, and then for a long time, I hadn't done beats and bars. So I was not doing anything creatively. I just stopped. Yeah, I lost, that I missed, doing the writing, going to the studio, but obviously nothing topped my experience as a father and what I was going through. So I was good with it. But once Beats and Bars came, it let me be creative again. It made me realize I could, because I was still writing with the kids.
So
I was still showing them.
Again.
Yeah, it sparked that up again. But again, it made me realize that now I could use this creativity. I was just used to using my creativity in one way.
For yourself.
For myself. That was it.
It was for you.
And so but even then, when I was like, I'm gonna start this program, then I was like, wait, how do I teach someone to rap? How do I teach someone?
It's almost like you were starting it for yourself again.
Yeah, for sure.
But then you're like, oh wait, this.
And I would tell you, Timon, I would trade all my years as an artist for those 5 years that I did as youth mentoring. Like that was worth it. Everything for me, that's why I was like, yo, if the music thing didn't pan out, but this was the reason, because now I could impact this way.
Yeah.
The most fulfilling situation I've been in, bro.
I'm
Just
gonna be honest,
bar none, bro.
Even though I've been leading people initially, I'm pretty sure I did that for myself anyway.
Yeah. I mean, we all have our personal goals. It took a long time to be like,
oh shit, no, this is for them.
But we all have our personal goals, and that goes without saying. We all want the same things for our, families and things like that. But there's a way of doing that and still taking other people into consideration.
Oh yeah,
and wanting, like you said, other people to come along. I want nothing more than to see my artists get to the things that they want. Like I ain't like a win for them is a win for me. And that was why more than anything too, as I made this transition, where I felt 100% comfortable with it was because I knew what it took to do all the necessary things as an artist. I did a lot of things. At some point I did have managers and I did have, people that would help, but I did a lot of my work. I did a lot of the outreach, a lot of the just marketing.
You were very
hands-on. Exactly. Yeah. So that's why I was able to transition as a manager, because I knew what it took to do the work.
Well, you did it already.
Yeah, I already did it. So now I was just like, all right, I'm gonna just bring these artists that I'm connecting with and bringing them right back to my resources, bringing them right back to my network and introducing them. Hey, I used to do this. And all the people that used to write for me, all the people that used to, or that did write-ups on me, and all, I just reintroduced my new slew of artists, and it was like, hey, and it gave them a warm handoff. Yeah,
phenomenal.
And so it was really good, So I was proud of that. But the reason I knew it was right and it was true is because every win I got for them was like a win for me. When I would see an article on them, I got that same adrenaline rush and that same fire in me that I did when I would see something written up about me, so that's when I was like, all right, this is real. This is honest. It's coming from an honest place. I'm not just chasing this because I'm trying to build this brand. Like that article said nothing about my brand, or that article said nothing about Loop Theory. It's about my artist. And to me, at the end of the day, the people will know who's doing the work. And that to me, that's all that matters. I even purposely, when I started Loop Theory, for at least maybe the first year, half a year, I never even said it was me that was behind it. I just did it. I just started it and let the artist be the face of it. And I just kept it moving. And obviously, as we went along, because I was making those warm introductions, people were asking about,
of course. It's natural.
Yeah. But yeah, man, it was, again, it was a great way to get things going. And it's definitely, I came into being a leader. I don't think I was necessarily just born this way, because I think as a child more reserved. I also had like a blood disorder for 8 years. So I had a different life when I was a shorty. Mm-hmm. So I was a little, but as life presented itself to me and as situations presented itself to me, again, people could always tell me, like, you're a completely different person off stage than when they would see me on stage. The first time, like, my sisters or my parents saw me on stage, they were like, what?
Yeah.
What? That's a whole nother person up there, right?
Yeah, no.
But it's because of my day-to-day, that's not necessarily my character. I'm not so in your face.
Naturally, I'm introverted. And it took a lot for me to, like, be able to, like, I go to colleges and speak to kids, or I do these functions where I'm doing roundtable discussions. I'm just like, wow, I didn't think I was capable of doing that, because I was super reserved, very shy. And I was just like, I think because I trust what I've been through, mm-hmm. and I trust what I'm saying to them, I'm able to speak on it freely.
It's truth, man. And and it comes with one of the things I always tell my artists: the biggest favor you could do for yourself is be yourself.
Yeah.
Because then you were never going to have to front in front of an interview, never have to worry if the other person, they just saw me smiling or out of my character. Or
you don't have to overthink anything.
Just be cool, man. Yeah. Whatever it is, like with multifaceted people, like showcase that, because then you never have to worry about not being in character.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that'll just make your life a lot easier. And I'm not, and I think it could be done. We've seen it time and time and again. I think that people choose the path, especially as artists, that they want to, that they want to ride. So that's one of the biggest lessons that I think definitely for artists is, just be yourself. That's the best approach. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? Cool. So then let's move on to some of these other topics. So the next one we were talking about, it comes with being a leader, right? And then sometimes checking ourselves, right? Because we might expect behaviors from other people that, sometimes we ourselves don't possess, right? So, and I see that sometimes as being a father. Sometimes I'm asking my daughter certain things, and I've been conscious of it, right? I'm a behavioral therapist, so I've been conscious of how, just how I engage and interact with my daughter. And she's 9 years old now, but throughout the years, sometimes I ask something of her that I myself haven't done, right? Well, I'll be like, hey, did you drink? how much water have you drinking today?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, shit, I haven't really drank that much water today.
I do the same thing.
Little simple things, right?
Yeah.
Hey, have you done this? And I'm like, wait, check myself.
Yeah.
Have I done that? Right?
Yeah.
And so that's one, right? And then two, earlier on when she was younger, it was always like preparing her for the situations, letting ahead of time. Like our child does something, they do a bad job at it for whatever reason. It's the first time they've ever had that situation or encounter or whatever. They don't react to it the way we expect or think they should. But one, we never taught them the behavior that should be exhibited during that interaction. So they don't know, they're just winging it. Right. Yeah. And then two, when they did it wrong, as opposed to teaching them the right way, we just reprimand them for doing it the wrong way. Mm-hmm. Right. And so like, those are just things that I would always make it a conscious decision with my daughter. It was the first time she made a mistake or she dropped something or she spilled stuff. And all right, baby, what happened? Was it the cup at the edge? Mm-hmm. Cool. How can we avoid this? So now if I'm giving her at least the knowledge of how she could make a better decision for herself next time. Now, if she does it again next time, then I'll be like, all right, but if you're not at least giving them the opportunity to correct themselves and you're right away reprimanding them, those were the situations where I
became a parent at 32 and at 30 at the same age. And I've learned that too. Like at first I would reprimand and be like, no, why are you doing, and then through co-parenting, my co-parent, my child's mother, she told me, she's like, yo, that's a little human being. Yeah. I was like, talk to him, ask him what's going on. Yeah. Why did that happen? Mm-hmm. And that's so much better. Yeah, for sure. Than trying to pop off on a little human being that's still learning how to process. Yep. They're human just like us. They just don't know how to process.
Exactly. And I would always use, like, my daughter, the example of, like, she would go to school and I was like, yo, you see someone alone, like, sitting completely on their own, like, yo, go talk to them. You know what I mean? See how they're doing. If you see someone being bullied, I'm like, how do you get out of that situation without you getting involved in it? How about you go talk to that kid, the kid that's getting bullied, and be like, hey, well, come over here and play. Act like you don't even know he's getting bullied, but get him out of that situation. But
now what I see
I'm like, as opposed to you going in and defending that kid, I'm like, now you're putting yourself in that situation and you don't know what's going to happen out of you. The best way to deal with that situation is call that kid over, be like, hey, let's play over here, let's do this, and try to get them away from that situation. And then she's done that. She'll come back and tell me, hey, puppy, there's this kid or whatever, so I called them over. Oh, great. Or there's this kid sitting out alone at lunch. I went to talk to them. Great, baby. But if I don't even have those conversations with her, if she's going to see that kid and be like, or she's not going to have the courage to go talk. She's not going to have, but it's like you tell her, like, how would you feel you were alone and, no one else was sitting next to you talking to you? Yeah, I wouldn't like, all right, well, you got to have the courage to go talk to that kid. Yeah. All right, cool. But those are the just simple, I remember one time, it was funny. We were at the park and there's some shorty getting roasted because he had a little like red afro going on, right? And the shorties were just giving him a hard time, right? And I was hearing it and my daughter told me, she's like, hey, Poppy, it's like, yeah, don't worry, we're good. So on the low, Shorty had some clean ass shoes though. So I'm like, yo, Shorty, your shoes are fire, bro. And he's, oh, thanks a lot. And all the other kids right away were like, right, because I was an adult, I had a decent outfit myself, so I was giving them props. And so the Shorty, you could see right away, stood up, chest up, all that they were talking to him out the window, and all the other short. And I was like, man, and your hair's fly too, bro, dope. And bro, that was it. All the shorties,
changed the whole mood.
Yeah. And my daughter looked at me and was like, biggest smile. Yeah, because she's like, what you've been telling me, this is how you do it. Yeah. This is how you take that energy away from them and put, focus on something else and then walk away. And this kid walked away feeling fly as hell.
Yeah, I can see the correlation with new artists. It's the same thing. Like they're babies in the game. Yes. And we expect them to already know how to market themselves. Exactly. And it's like, now let's talk about it.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. What do you want to get out of this? A lot of times. But again, we just have to have the conversations. We have to, it just has to be something that we talk about because, again, if not, we're expecting behavior, we're expecting reactions.
And what I've done, like a parent, is like I've tried to instill my vision. I was like, no, let's talk about your vision. Yeah. How do we meet in the middle? Yeah. I want to bring some stuff to the table, whether you want to take that or not, that's up to you. I think it's a good opportunity, but what's your vision? Yeah.
But I also think that, we also have to, I think sometimes with working with artists, we do have to ask because we're giving just as much as they are. And there has to be something that we have to meet in the middle, and there has to be that common respect. We understand that what they're bringing is unique to them, and that's no one's going to change it. And I understand that they could see our position as interchangeable because there's a lot of people that are managers and a lot of people that are this and that. Mm-hmm. But regardless of what they could think of that position, what we bring to the table is also very unique. Absolutely. And so I think that as long as there's that common respect between artists and their business partners, I think that the opportunities are endless, man. And I just think that again, as a previous artist, I'm always very pro artist. I'm always trying to find ways for my artists to have the upper hand. And so I know that it's sometimes an uphill battle, but that's a hill I'm willing to die. You know what I mean? Because I do think that, again, we don't have to destroy the system that's been already there and has been built. We could build alongside of it. And if anyone wants to rock with us, I think that there's room for growth.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, man. So I know we kind of sidetracked a little bit there, but so I guess, just overall these behaviors that we expect from other people. Is there anything else that you want to add on in particular to that, as far as any other experiences?
I mean, I feel like you covered a lot of ground, but the shared vision thing is a huge experience for me. I feel like when I had that tunnel vision, I wasn't able to really listen to the artist. Like if I saw the unique talent in there, I was just like, all right, I'm just trying to take this shit to the next level.
For sure.
Like, how are we going to do that? And now I'm just being more mindful of making sure that everyone's heard, and that we share that vision together. Like we have this common ground that we meet.
For sure. I agree, man. Cool. So yeah, I guess that was part of the third topic was, us connecting it with the artists that we work with and, dealing with different people in somewhat of a non-traditional, industry. The industry we work in, we deal with different types of people, from on the corporate side, on the business side, but then, like you said, the artist side, right? There's a lot of either, with artists, a lot of times, just as they say with comedians and all these other, entertainers, there's always sometimes something that comes with that, right? Art's always, not always, but it derives from some sort of internal, whether it's conflict or trying to find resolution to that conflict, whatever the case may be. But it comes from an internal place, ultimately. I think that a lot of times rappers, or even just musicians or artists in general, don't give themselves that credit to what they're really doing. Like you're really sitting down here and like penning songs and lyrics and penning your emotions. Like you're tapping into something as whether as surface as they are, or as emotion or as deep as they are. Like you have to give yourself that credit, because not anyone is sitting at a studio writing down these lyrics. Not anyone is committing to coming in, recording. It takes something in you to take that step to actually do it. So give yourself that credit. Not anyone goes on stage to do something. Not everyone, takes that opportunity or chance on themselves. But I also think it's very important to like make the decision of when to share it with the world, right?
Yeah. I think a lot of artists struggle with imposter syndrome.
Yeah,
and,
I agree.
It's something that it's debilitating, and I think we help them. We guide them through that as well.
And I'll speak as from the artist side. I agree. A lot of times we have the people we look up to, or we have the people that are in other people's ears, and you're trying to not necessarily, because again, I didn't make the music that was popular at the time or whatever. I knew the sound I was going for. I knew the audience I was targeting, but I still would pay attention to who was leading the pack in that, in that demographic. I still was taking that into consideration and the sounds. And so as much as you don't want to, it's sometimes it does affect your creative process. And and in order for that to happen, artists just need to learn how to detach themselves from that. And I do think having that person on your side whose ear you trust is pivotal, because sometimes as an artist, it's hard to walk away from something, to know when it's ready, to know when it's okay to let it go.
And how to let it go.
Yeah, and how to let it go.
Yeah.
Yes, very important. So I agree. I think that those are big responsibilities. So the sooner you can find those people in your corner, the more beneficial. And I think the sooner, especially if that's an issue that you have. I think it could be either side of the spectrum. I have artists that record the song tonight and release it tonight. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then they have the ones that, they the song's never done.
Also, the other issue is like the expectations, right? Like the artist wants to create a song and they want to be, Jay-Z tomorrow.
For sure.
Yeah, you got to earn that.
Yeah, it comes with the territory. Yeah. But I think, again, you weed out people, again, and I realized that through like my Beats and Bars program and things like that, where even at that age, you realize who's going to have that, who has that in them. Because they realize, like, this isn't just about, they go in the first couple of weeks and they're like, I want to be a rapper and it's cool. But then they're like, oh, wait, I got to write this verse. And wait, that verse I wrote for that other beat didn't make the song. Yeah. And then they start realizing, like, just because you do it doesn't mean it ends up somewhere. It's something like this is the process. You need to go through this to learn, to become better, to, and then, by the end of that, they'll see like, oh man, the one verse or the two verses they had on the whole project, they were so proud of them because they were their best verses. But it might have taken them that whole year to really grow to be that person. But within that time, they were able to, write all the other verses that didn't make it, and that you need to get those out the system.
You
need
to
get those.
You got to put in those reps.
Yep.
I always tell these artists, like, I have these artists that they're like, oh, I recorded 5 songs, I'm putting them out. I was like, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
It's like, write 100. Let's pick 12.
Yep.
Because you got to write through all the bullshit to get to the good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And again, there is artists that have it, and I work with one of them in particular who, I mean, their work ethic is amazing, and the quality is always there. But those are few and far between. And you have to, you have to be realistic with yourself. And again, just artists, pay attention, listen to your music from an outside perspective. I would always listen to my music like myself, right? And critique it and whatever. And then I'll try to somewhere tap into to try to listen to it as a fan or just to someone who like consuming my music and seeing what. But again, you're never going to have that perspective. And I also think just as an artist, the sooner you realize you have to fully buy into that. You're an artist, then you need to buy into that artist. But you trying to be a consumer and at the same time trying to be an artist and trying to, like, you have to pick one side of the world, because either you're providing and you're creating and you're the one that's putting this out to the world, or you're the one consuming it. And yes, you could be both, but very seldomly does it happen. It's like once you're on this side, is the consuming part. It's never the same. Like I always tell artists, like, is there anyone that you would stand out like in a long line to see or to meet or to like go to a concert?
Yeah.
If you're an artist, chances are no. Like there's no, because you're so focused on your own stuff.
Can I say that? That's so crazy you say that, because once I started to work in the business, it was hard to even be a regular consumer of music, because now I'm listening to like the spectrum. Else. I was like, oh, is that mix good? Is it, did they roll that out right? Like everything's affecting the way I consume now. It's just like, wow, it's not regular for me anymore.
Exactly.
I see it in an entirely different way.
Exactly. And I think the sooner artists and everyone just decide like, hey, this is what I'm doing. And it's okay. Like it's unfortunate because we do lose that side of it where we just enjoy music blindly and whatever. But it's okay. It comes with the territory. And again, the moment you choose to make music, and not only that, we could make music and we could keep it on our hard drive or keep it in our computer and no one, that's one thing. But the moment you decide to put it out for people to consume it and for people to have an opinion on it, I mean, that's it. You're choosing this life. You're choosing what comes with it. And again, the people who make it and who don't, it's really just the work ethic and the consistency. I mean, because it don't matter how dope you are if you have, again, one song, right? And that one song could really get you far. But it only lasts so long. We've known that.
It's
we've
seen it time and time again. Yeah, these guys they'll make that one record and put it out, and it's just like you have no rollout. You're getting 100 spins, like.
And another thing I'm going to tell artists too, and I feel like one of the things that holds them back from putting out music is because they don't want to have like this discography. By the time they get discovered, like they want to be able to say, oh, like I popped from my first album, and I feel like that's doing a discredit, because along the way you could be building up a fan base, and whenever you do finally get to that pinnacle of whatever it is, or that transition where you do start having a huge fan base, now you have the discography that they could go back on and
also
just like consume.
that mentality, that way of consuming music, that died in the 90s. As soon as the internet broke out, everything fucking changed.
Yeah, man. But a lot of I will tell you this: working with younger artists, I've seen, like, I don't want to put this out.
No, I hear it all the time. Yeah. It bothers me. I'm like, yo, like, no, man, you're growing your fan base now. They're not even consuming just your music. They want to consume your actual life.
Yeah, everything.
So like, it's like, no, you put it out. Like, this is it.
Yeah.
The record label is your social media.
Exactly.
And your blog now, the blogs that don't exist anymore or are not breaking, that's your social media. You're your own blog now.
Yep.
So like, you have to put out as much material as possible. You have to create shit for people to consume.
Yep.
You can't hold anything. There's no more like,
no room
I got 30 songs in the vault. It's like, no one gives a fuck about your vault.
Yep, exactly. I agree 100%. So yeah, artists, let it go. Yes, should there be a plan behind it?
Absolutely.
Should there be strategy behind it? Should there be some marketing? Yes, 100%. I'm not telling you to do things sloppily. I'm not, none of that. But let them go. Flood the streets. I'm of the belief if it's undeniable and you're that good, you could make another one and another one and another one.
Look at what Rush did.
Yeah, exactly. Time and time again.
One song a week on SoundCloud.
Yep.
And he said it. He's like, yo, all my other albums prior to that were so spread out, they didn't do anything.
Yep.
I was like, I needed to show this consistency to blow up.
Exactly. And I just think a lot of artists just cannot commit to that consistency. I myself, I could tell you the stride that I had, the most, reception that I had, the most just reach outs from labels is when I didn't stop. Every week it was something. I was
No, I
either
remember
giving
that.
them music, I was giving them the artwork for what was dropping next week, I was dropping a video, a snippet. Every week.
You even had a formula for your live show.
Yeah.
And so people were expecting that already too. They're
Yeah.
like, oh, I know what I'm getting over there.
Exactly. Yeah. Me and Son built a really good show. And so, yeah, man, we did some great things when we were doing it. But I'm glad that I went through that in order for me to get to this point, have a better understanding of what it is that artists need, what it is that they want. And that's why I was like, when I started Loop Theory, it was just that. It's like, the younger generation for us were Chance and Vic. I was, as far as me as an artist, right? I was in between. I was like between, when I was with the Moment, I was a younger guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then I got to the Vic and Chance and Saba era, and I started seeing the younger brother figuring it out, because for many years, everyone in Chicago had to go somewhere else to pop.
Yes.
They were the first ones, and I'll give them the credit to bring the city's attention. Keith, I would say.
Oh yeah,
Keith.
definitely Keith.
Without a doubt. No, that went up. Very cool. So seeing the younger generation for myself, seeing the Chance, the Vics, and like we said, Keith, I could say was the first one to bring, just labels and A&R's attention.
Major labels.
Yeah, to Chicago. As far as, when I was in the scene, I could see the change before that and after that. Everyone was coming and everyone was, just doing showcases and companies were coming out here to, peep out and scout talent. And I hadn't seen that before. We had a lot of shows. And so seeing that made me realize, like, all right, this next generation needs assistance, on the business side and how to develop themselves as artists. And that's when I realized, like, let me do that. Let me expand what I was doing with the Beats and Bars thing. Let me go ahead and focus on younger artists, Chicago. And I think that was the primary focus, because young brothers like that from our city showed us at the time that it could be done and that artists didn't have to leave.
That time inspired me a ton. And that Sucker Free show, that
Mm-hmm.
beauty bar.
Yep.
When No ID came into the city and got interviewed by MTV, he said, yo, Chicago makes great music, but they have no music business.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no music business sense. That's what he meant. And I was just like, yo, I want to bring that to the table.
For sure. And at that time, I was still very, music oriented as far as an artist. So my focus was different. But at a couple of years, just made a big change for me as far as my perspective and what my purpose was going to be and where I wanted my impact to be.
Yeah.
I could still, rap with the best of them. That goes without,
That's a fact.
That's just natural at this point. But I choose where my energy and where I feel I'm better placed in this world right now, and what I could, again, have a bigger impact. And so I'm very proud of it, man. I'm glad to be in this position as a leader, for our teams, and a leader for our community. And I'm looking forward to this. This was the first one. I think we did good.
Yeah,
we covered some good ground.
Absolutely.
Again, I hope people take away something positive from this. That's the type of energy I like to put out. What else? Anything else you want to say, Jason?
Oh, I think we did good.
We did
We'll
good.
cover some ground here.
All right. Any feedback anyone has? This is our first episode. It's called Game. You know what I mean? So we're gonna go ahead and wrap this one up. Yeah. My name's Navarro.
My name is Jason.
Jason, Private Stock, Loop Theory Connection. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we look forward to the next episode.
Yeah.
Peace.